Okay, so throughout the hackathon, you're going to have opportunities to help students as they break code. What we mean by that is as they start to create errors. They might do that unintentionally, but we often encourage them to do it intentionally. In fact, we celebrate errors, and we often say errors are not failure, they're feedback. They provide little clues on how to fix your code. The more errors you make earlier on in your coding career, the easier it is for you to fix them because you're going to start recognizing the patterns of errors. The first example in Python in particular is that capitalization matters when it comes to variable names or really anything else. So S, capital S, sound, is different than lowercase s sound. And so when I hit the run button and I get a name error, there's an error with a variable name that's not defined. Sound is not defined on line 9. That is because right here, I had two references to sound, one right here and one right here, but one had a capital S, the other was a lowercase s. I wouldn't point that out to a student straight away. I might just ask them questions. I'd say, like, okay, well, we got sound is not defined. Well, where did you define sound? Like, where did you create that variable name? Up here. Got it. Does that look exactly like that? Do those two words completely match? And maybe that's a, at that point, we'll know this is a capital S. Okay, great. Or just read each letter, S. So S is the same. And then keep on asking questions until they figure out that capitalization matters. You might have to remind them that capitalization matters. We saw the other example before where I just corrected that error, where in this case, maybe a student accidentally typed in a few extra letters at the end of the sound file name. If that's the case, they'll notice they won't see that green button that indicates that that's a valid sound. And so you might just need to delete those characters at the end of it until you see that green button again, and that's when you know that's a valid sound. Another example, maybe they forgot the equal sign. So when they hit run, they'll get a syntax error because you'll need an equal sign after the variable name. And then with functions, maybe they forgot a parentheses. And this is the weirdest error because when you hit the run button, you'll see that the error doesn't happen until down here. And syntax errors, it's not a very helpful error message. Basically just means that you wrote the code incorrectly. You might have forgot a parentheses or something like that. And so, or an equal sign, or maybe some other character. And in this case, they actually forgot the parentheses over here. And basically what we explain is that, when it doesn't see that end parentheses, it keeps looking for it. And in fact, it looks for it on line 10. So in fact, if you had a parentheses right there, this code would actually work. It's not normally how we write the code, but it actually still works because it just basically needs to see that closed parentheses. Now, when it doesn't see that, I'll just delete this and hit run. It keeps on looking for it until it gets to row 11, and that's where it sees sound equals this other sound name. So it's not the closed parentheses. That's where you get the error message. But it's confusing because there's nothing wrong with the code on line 11. The problem actually had on line 9. So these are just a few examples of how you can break code. And again, we encourage students to try it first, Google it, which could be Googling it on google.com, or they could go into right here to the curriculum bar, and they could search on name error as we did right here. That's where we get to this page that explains name errors, for example, or syntax errors in this case. So they can just search over here to come up with any kind of, just to find their own answers. And then they could turn to their neighbor and ask a friend and see if that other student ran into a similar problem. Maybe they could workshop it together. And that other student will benefit because if they can explain it, they will actually remember that themselves, or it might challenge their own assumptions. So that's it. You can reach out to us on breakbeatcode.com with any questions. We really hope you enjoy introducing this to your classroom, and good luck.